Well, hello again, everybody. Dr. Bulow here for another edition of Revive videos. And the theme of this one has to do with brain health. So all month long, we've been talking about the hashtag Revive Brain Health and discussing different topics and conditions and research involving the brain. And this last week, we've been talking about the condition of Parkinson's disease. Now, Parkinson's disease is a rather insidious and prevalent brain disorder that affects how well your body is able to voluntarily move, the muscles, how they move. And so what I want to do is take a minute and explain to you how the condition works so you can better understand it. Maybe you know someone in your life that has Parkinson's. And then give you a little bit of hope, tell you about some research that gives Parkinson's disease patients some options. You know, there are options for them in improving the quality of their life in spite of having this really nasty disorder. So with that said, let's start by talking about the disorder of Parkinson's. Now, to understand Parkinson's, you have to understand how the body works. You know, when you decide to walk down the hallway or walk out of your room or shake someone's hand or go and write a letter, anytime you decide to voluntarily do something, the way that works is the top of your brain, called the cortex up here, is going to decide, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to execute this action. And then it has to check with the center of the brain. In many ways, the brainstem and the midbrain, the middle of your brain, is really what controls the show. So the top of the brain says, hey, I'd like to go do this. And it tells the middle of your brain, the midbrain, hey, I want to go do this thing. And the midbrain says, okay, let's do it. And it releases this chemical called dopamine. And that allows the top of the brain to then go and do what it wanted to do. You know, and the brain tells the arm to go out and shake someone's hand or write a letter, or tells the legs to walk down a hallway, that sort of thing. Now, if you think about that and how that works, it's a lot like a quarterback on a football field. The quarterback walks up to the line and he says, here's what I want to do. And he tells them to hike the ball, and the ball's passed to the quarterback, and then the quarterback can throw the ball down the field to execute what the quarterback wanted to do. So here again, top of the brain tells the midbrain, here's what I'd like to do. The midbrain produces this thing called dopamine, which helps the quarterback, helps the top of your brain send the messages down to the rest of the body, telling it what it wants to do. In Parkinson's patients, the area of the brain called the substantia nigra, which produces dopamine, becomes under attack. It doesn't produce enough dopamine. So now, when the brain says, hey, I'd like to go do this thing, the midbrain kind of looks up at the brain saying, I can't help you. I don't have any dopamine. It's sort of like the quarterback walking up to the line saying, all right, hike the ball. And the center, the football player that has the ball, says, I don't have any footballs to give you to go do what you want to do. So the really unfortunate thing with a Parkinson's patient is they want to go do these things mentally, but their brain is frozen. Their body becomes frozen. So one of the most common hallmark signs that you'll see in a Parkinson's patient initially is this frozen, pan, dead face, where their muscles lose the ability to make these subconscious emotional expressions, whether they're happy or sad or frustrated. It's a pan face. That doesn't mean the Parkinson's patient doesn't like you. It just means that they're unable to communicate subconsciously with their facial expressions the way that most of us do when we talk. Little smiles, little things that we do. A Parkinson's patient doesn't do that because the muscles don't receive the ability for them to move that way. Another hallmark sign of a Parkinson's patient is what we call a shuffling gait, where they lean forward and they shuffle their feet while they walk. And that's a little trick that a Parkinson's patient will do subconsciously, is they want to pick that foot up and move, but their brain has a hard time telling it to. So what a Parkinson's patient will do is they'll lean forward and force their body to start moving, and they'll kind of shuffle. It's a very big tripping hazard. So we have to be very careful with those in our lives that have Parkinson's to help them move, to be with them, to make sure that they're not forcing themselves to ambulate at risk of their own well-being, because they could trip and fall. So having Parkinson's is it's a progressive disorder. It gets worse over time. It's very debilitating, and it can be very frustrating for a Parkinson's patient and their families. But one of the reasons I'm making this video is because I think it's very important for patients to know that there is options. There are both medical options, L-dopa and these medications that flood the brain with footballs, so to speak, that allow the body to move. But then naturally, there's options like upper cervical chiropractic. Now, if you watched any of our videos in the past, you know what upper cervical chiropractic is. It's a specialty within chiropractic that looks specifically at the very top of the neck, where the head and the neck meet, where they join. These bones up here are very mobile, and if they get out of place, they can create a lot of problems for the brainstem, which is this second little exclamation point right here. And it's a condition we call a subluxation. So we know with Parkinson's, just to understand this diagram here, when we have trouble moving, it can lead to tremors in your ability, dyskinetic movements, slow movements, rigidity where we can't move very much, and a decrease in posture because our posture muscles don't have that tone anymore. In the absence of the footballs, so to speak, in the absence of dopamine, a lot of our muscles become rigid and tight. Now, we know with a subluxation, right, a misalignment at the base of the skull, it can decrease the communication between the brain and the body. It's not quite like the quarterback not having a football, but it's kind of like the quarterback wearing sunglasses. They don't quite see things clearly. When you're subluxated, when you have a misalignment, you have stress and inflammation at the base of your brain, it really kind of creates a mental fog, literally and figuratively, on the brain and the nervous system. So what do we do in upper cervical? Well, we go in, we remove the pressure, whether it's a Parkinson's patient or a non-Parkinson's patient. If we can remove the subluxation, take away the pressure and interference at the point where the brain is trying to communicate with the body, that can at least enhance the play. It can at least help the brain. Now, is it a cure or treatment for Parkinson's? No. But if it takes one of those pressures off and helps relax the brain in a patient that has a brain-based disorder, well then for goodness sakes, it can only help. And it's not just an opinion. There's been some documented evidence. A colleague of mine in Charleston, South Carolina did a study back in 2014 with 3 different Parkinson's patients in a certain time in his practice. And what he did was he had them fill out this scale that Parkinson's patients will fill out, a medical survey. And some of the more common results that they found with their patients was an increase in their writing, their dexterity of their hands, because they had less tremoring, right? They had an increase in grip strength. As a result, you can imagine these patients had less depression. They felt better about their quality of life, and they had a decrease in overall pain. So I think it's really important for people to know that they have options. Yes, including Parkinson's patients. It doesn't mean it's a treatment or a cure for that condition, but if we remove the interference and enhance the function of the brain, then certainly it can improve the overall quality of life. So hopefully this video has been informative and inspiring for you. That's what we seek to do. If you have any questions regarding this condition, upper cervical chiropractic, or anything else in the healthcare space, I'd be happy to answer them. Please let me know. If you know someone, of course, that has this condition or any other brain-based conditions, you can share this video, comment on it. We'll answer the questions that you have, and I look forward to talking to you guys again next time. Bye now.